Hey, Mark here. I have a really cool giveaway for you. I have 5 Blu-ray copies of Star Trek Strange New Worlds Season 3. And if you're interested in winning a copy, just shoot me a message and be like, hey, Mark, I love Star Trek. I love Strange New Worlds. This show's a lot of fun. It's a good time. And I would love to have a Blu-ray with a bunch of extras. So yeah, shoot me a message if you'd like to get a copy of Star Trek Strange New Worlds Season 3. One show, Infinite Adventures. Join the crew of the USS Enterprise as they discover new civilizations, test their resolve, and dive into thrilling adventures. Star Trek Strange New Worlds Season 3 is now available to buy on 4K Steelbook, DVD, Blu-ray, and digital.
Hello and welcome to Movies, Films, and Flicks. I am Mark Hoffmeyer, and joining me, Megan Hoffmeyer.
Sarah Newworth, DJ Valentine, Billy Business, and Brendan Peters. This is Nadia Boetes. This is Nathan Leahy. It's David Cross. It's Jake Lewitt. Norbert Morvan. It's Lisa Leahy. Joey Lewandowski. John Levingood. Professor Mike Dillon. Nick Riak. Niall Moore. Adam Youngblood Hodge. Eric Hoffmeyer. It's Johnny Nunn. Hello and welcome to Movies, Films, and Flicks. I am Mark Hoffmeyer, and joining me is a man who also escaped from Penguin Island. It's Professor Mike Dillon.
What's up? Penguin Island, huh?
Ray Liotta escaped from Penguin Island. It's a level 5 max security prison. I paused it when they were talking about what prisons he escaped from, and I kind of want to know more about Penguin Island and his escape.
You think it was like an island of actual penguins and he
I mean,
somehow finagled some kind of chicken run situation where he like got them all to organize and help them leave?
There's outsider penguins and insider penguins,
Yeah.
and they just battle.
Yeah.
That'd be amazing. Where would Penguin Island be? Like Pittsburgh?
Like, well, I don't know. Maybe one or two ice sheets over from the island that Happy Feet is on. It's like, why can't we be on that island?
I love that. And
Everyone's
also
so happy.
they messed up. Yeah, why is everyone dancing? He would want to get off that island really bad. So they said that both islands were level 5, but Fort Curtis is a level 6. I noticed. So whoever did that messed up. But he escaped from Penguin Island and Fort Curtis. Ray Liotta did. I know his name's Robbins in it, but it's Ray Liotta. But yeah, I just love that he escaped. We're talking No Escape, 1994.
Yeah.
Professor Mike Dillon. I'm very excited.
Escape from Absalom, as it's also known. It's like an alternate title that I encountered with it.
That's a lot.
But
that's Escape from Do you think that's a Absalom?
Because that's the name of the new island, right?
Oh, I don't even remember the name of that one. The island that he's on?
Yeah, the main our main setting. I think.
Got it. Yeah, I couldn't.
Be a weird title if it wasn't.
You know what? I want to make a movie and just have that title, but it's basically just like a Kramer versus Kramer remake, and no one would understand why the title is Escape from Absalom.
It's Kramer versus Kramer.
Yeah,
but the title is Escape from Absalom.
Yeah.
So everyone's going to be wondering, what is Absalom? Is Latin for a bad marriage?
Just nothing. I don't know. I'm very self-destructive in a way, Professor Mike Dillon. So I might actually name a movie with that title and have it be nothing about that. Because
no need to remake this movie because this movie rocks,
doesn't it? Martin Henderson knows what's up, and such a good cast.
Martin Campbell.
Oh, Martin Campbell. Did I say Martin Henderson?
Martin Henderson, star of The Ring
and Torque.
And so Torque, that's right.
I'm looking at the IMDb page and there's a guy Don Henderson, so maybe I messed that up. But yeah, no, I mean this is a good time, and I completely forgot about the prison in the beginning that he had to escape because his buddy gave him bread. His buddy gets killed. He goes after the warden.
It starts as Fortress basically with Christopher Lambert, and then becomes kind of Lord of the Flies, and then by the end there's a little bit of Braveheart in there. It's a lot going on.
I just love that Ray Liotta was the hero of this. Like, it's interesting casting, and I kind of like his character too because he just wants to get out of there. Like I like it. He shows up. He's like, I need out, and he's just like on another level from everybody else. You know, I think that Stuart Wilson does some incredible work in this movie as well as Merrick.
Yeah, he's VIP.
And I think there's a 10-minute chunk in this movie that just sold it for it. That will whatever else happens in this movie. It's even if the rest of the movie's terrible, I love when when Robbins Ray Liotta first gets to the island, he gets captured, he kills Ralph, He makes a joke about a new lifeguard. He steals the gun. I love when he throws Merrick in the water, then he gets chased. That 10-minute sequence is like the highlight of the film for me. There's a lot of great stuff in here as well. I mean, they were in Australia, they built the real sets, you can just feel the sweat. But that moment's really propulsive, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah, that's a great sequence. And there's so much to talk about. I think, just beginning with so to me, this is a terrific B movie.
Yes.
No bones about it. It's straight B, capital B, in a way that so our last conversation was about Demolition Man. And I think Demolition Man is sort of it's like it's B in its sensibilities and its concept and everything, but it has an A level budget. And I think that discrepancy kind of creates maybe a little bit of an issue because like, okay, well, for an A level star-studded movie, this shouldn't be this B. Or you might say, well, it might have been better if it had embraced its B-ness a little bit more because it's so bloated. I'm not really knocking Demolition Man, but I do think that's an inherent problem. This is a movie that's B through and through, and it just really it's a much I think this is a much more impressive film at the B budget than Demolition Man is at the A budget, if that makes a certain kind of sense. I'm not insisting we put them side by side that way because they are very different, but so what do you need in a B movie? It's got to be really well constructed. They've clearly figured out how to stretch whatever budget they had, and then you have just like a giant cast of great character actors. Like I don't think there's a single miscast person. It's all very good or very interesting. Like you say, having Liotta as kind of a he's sort of a villain in his own way. I kind of wish they'd stuck with it a little bit more because he does kind of do a Rick Blaine where he starts out was like, I don't stick my neck out for anybody. I'm only in it for me. And it turns out no, he not only kind of has a change of heart and turns good, but he also has like kind of a noble mission in mind. He's not just like a serial escape artist who's just out there to because they introduce him and they explicitly say you're like a psychopathic, sociopathic rogue agent.
Yeah,
Like he's
antisocial.
genuinely dangerous guy. But then by the end, he's just trying to like be a whistleblower about like even greater military corruption. It's like, I don't know. I think that muddles his character arc a little bit. Keep him all good or keep him all bad, But you're trying to have your cake and eat it too. That being said, Leota's great. This movie does a lot with just close-ups of his face.
He holds the screen. I was thinking there's a scene where he's just running through the woods, and I'm like, he's got me. I don't know. It's just he's such an interesting performer, and it's such kind of outside the box thinking for this. But yeah, he really I don't know. It's he really holds this thing together. And I think you're right too. I mean, like there's a scene where he goes back for Casey. It's like Casey's a bozo. Let him go. Like you have the car part. Get out of there.
Is that the Kevin Dillon?
Yeah, Kevin Dillon.
No,
Victory.
no, no relation.
Yeah. And he you're another one of the Dillons. Oh, I like that.
I'm a
Um,
Dillon. Yeah,
I loved you
I've
in
never met the
Entourage.
Dillons. Yeah. I don't know.
But
I mean, I would probably no relation that I'm aware of. I'd probably, if I met him, I'd go and ask about it. And then I'd be like, I loved you in the Blob.
that's a great remake, by the way. Solid horror
That's a
remake.
yeah, I think that's a rare example of a remake that is maybe superior.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah. But this
Anyway.
one, yeah, he holds it together. And also too, it shows why Martin Campbell is successful because they went to Australia. They had an incredible amount of like there's this bug. They said there was like poisonous animals everywhere. They built that fort on the water. And also, I think he realized Stuart Wilson what he was bringing and he let him be Stuart Wilson in this movie. And I think that also too Galen Hurd produced it. She knows what she's doing. And like you said, they had a budget. They had a big battle at the end, but then Galen Hurd went up to Martin Campbell one day and was like, "You're not doing the battle." So then they had to completely rewrite it, where it's just him inside blowing everybody up, which I think is better. You don't need two battles. That would have been the same thing over and over again. But
Oh.
I think what Martin Campbell did though is if you look at Goldeneye, if you look at Casino Royale, Vertical Limit, The Mask of Zorro, all the movies they're very not economical. They're very meat and potatoes in their action. There's no
Mm-hmm.
flipping cameras. There's no. This is gonna sound weird. There's no like style. It's what he does is he understands the fight. He has good second unit actors. He puts the actors. You can see the actors' faces in it, and he just executes good action. But also, you know, Antonio Banderas is great in Zorro. Catherine Zeta-Jones, Anthony Hopkins. In Goldeneye, just Brosnan had time to like adjust his boat like tie while driving a tank. In Casino Royale, the relationship between Eva Green and Daniel Craig, he he makes these like kind of very economical, straightforward films, but he also lets the actors have their moments. And I think that's what this movie
Hmm.
does as well. And I think that's how he's found his success, where like even in The Protege, Michael Keaton's great in that movie. And I think he does a good job of like, you know where the action is, the plot's very simple. He knows he trusts his second unit, he storyboards, but he also allows his actors to shine. And they do shine in this movie. You can tell that they some of these actors really do pop. And that's what I kind of appreciate about Martin Campbell in No Escape. I like that a lot
Yeah,
about it.
yeah, I agree. He's very functional, right?
There it
He
is.
doesn't overly style anything, like in the way that, or just picking a rant. I don't want to like pick on someone excessively, but just like Zack Snyder, just to grab an
Yeah,
example,
yeah.
right? He's someone who prefers to like really aestheticize his action. Martin Campbell is very like, yeah, I like the phrase meat and potatoes because he does it in a way that's rooted in sort of practicality. And what you get as a result is an action sequence that's never incoherent,
None
right?
of these are incoherent.
Yeah, it flows very smoothly. You already know where the sort of spatial arrangements of everybody is. That's harder to do in a chase sequence because you've got like every shot is a slightly different terrain as opposed to like kind of an enclosed battle where everything is happening inside a fort. So he's got sort of multiple action tasks to do here, and they all work. They're you can tell he's thinking like an editor because everything just kind of flows, right? The action design is very straightforward and smooth. I like that he also knows how to linger a shot.
Yeah.
My favorite shot is during that chase sequence. There's a dead weight trap with a log with a bunch of spikes coming out of it, and he's being chased by some goon, and the log kind of catches the goon, but then it swings out of frame and then swings back into frame, and the goon is stuck on it. Do you know the shot I mean?
Yeah, no, it's a great shot.
That's a shot that only worked out. You could cut that together with a bunch of coverage, but like no, having that be one continuous take is what makes it fun and what makes it impactful and even a little bit funny. There's another one that's a really so this movie's got a lot of very solid stunts, like in the vein of
Oh yeah.
like a Water World or something like that. There's one when Leota's character is tranquilized in the neck or something, and then he falls down the waterfall,
Great
and it's
fall.
it's it's a great fall. It's a great stunt. It's reminiscent of the bungee jump in Goldeneye, which is also Campbell. And
Oh,
so, yeah, and he knows just how to keep that shot lingering. Because if you cut to a close-up shot of Leota's face as he's falling, it's like, okay, that it's just not going to look as good, right? Having that distance and just watching a body fall from top to bottom without cutting away, that's he knows like that's going to have the impact, not cutting away from it or cutting too close to it. So yeah,
definitely.
he
And
just does it. He just does it functionally and smartly.
I love what you said about he works for the edit because he does storyboard his movies extensively beforehand if he has time.
Hmm.
And so I think if given time, he can think of the shots. He knows the shots. He knows how they should transition. And I think he ran into problems on Green Lantern because the script wasn't totally done and had a lot of VFX. So I think he was just uncomfortable with combining all those elements. Like he couldn't go in ultra prepared. With the two Bond movies he was on, he had time to prepare for them. I think this one moved pretty quick, but he had time to prepare for it. So I think the way he works on this is cool. No, I love what you said too. This is a B movie that it has it just it has a beginning, middle, end, and it does it. There's no big themes. There's a little bit of military corruption, but it's such a fun little B story with a deep bench of actors, and that's all it wants to be. And I think the world needs that. I think TNT and TBS and those type of channels needed that with just a I don't know. I like movies that are really unpretentious and unshowy, but also smart. And I think this one is it. Now it might be a little long, but also I don't know what I would cut because I like spending time with these actors. I like uh, I don't know. I like Ernie Hudson running around. It's just yeah, he was everywhere in the '90s. But yeah, this
Yeah, I
was
mean, there's maybe a little too much world building. Like, do we need to have these side characters like the guy who distills
Yeah,
moonshine.
yeah, we
I
don't
mean,
need
yeah,
that.
okay.
Yeah.
I mean, they're fun to kind of give us a sense of what this community is like because you need it to contrast the the Morlocks. Like these are the Eloys to the Morlocks, So you do get the sense of like, okay, what are the two insider outsider camps like? But you know, you're right. It does have a little bit of drag. That being said, it's like this movie is so successful at doing what it is setting out to do, like what it needs to get done, what beats it needs to hit. It's like, yeah, it's unpretentious. It's very, very kind of just yeah, meat and potatoes, just practical. We're gonna deliver the story, unpretentious delivery system for just like a B action movie. This is a great dad movie. You know,
No, it really is. And listen, I'm telling you that those first 10 minutes, they had a great trailer too. When he's gonna have the pool fight with the guy and he just throws a blade right into his chest. Like it cut a great trailer. And I have a
they give
question.
that away in the trailer.
Yeah, they give that away in the trailer.
Not,
Which
I mean, they don't show the impact, I imagine.
I think they show him killing him. Like they show the guy
Hmm.
hitting the thing because that looks all like he licks the blade, hits the thing, and then Ray Liotta just
Yeah,
kills
yeah,
him.
yeah.
So that was in the trailer. And it's a
That's
great
too bad.
trailer moment.
It's too bad. It's a good trailer moment, but it's also a great moment in the film that might have, if you didn't know it was coming. I imagine that getting like a big laugh if he'd seen that in the theater, right? Yeah.
And
Oh, I was also going to say that it also has. So, I mean, it does have kind of a preachy message. I don't know. I could do without it. That takes it away from the realm of like exploitation and trash, which is I think where this film is like a little bit more at home because it's having way too much fun with Stuart Wilson's character, which is just like crazy eyes, discount Mel Gibson.
200
Just
deluxe rooms with caring professionals. I'm your
I was
resident
wondering,
manager.
like, was Merrick in real estate before he got sent to the prison? Because he's so particular about rooms and he's like a almost like a used car salesman, right? Like a real estate he's doing a pitch.
We appear to
But
have an opening.
yeah, I mean he's arguably having a hair too much fun with his performance,
Yeah.
right? He's got the crazy eyes that are like I said, he's very the eyes are very Mel Gibson. I know they worked together on Lethal Weapon 3, but
He's
yeah,
chopping off
that's
heads.
he's yeah, he's chopping up heads. That leads to one of my favorite things you get in like violent action films, which is when a severed head just kind of lingers in place for a few seconds and then it gradually falls off. That's always a treat.
There's a lot of decapitated heads in this. So he chops off the guy with the teeth, his head, and then he chops off the head's estate because he really just wants to lead.
Hmm.
That's his comment.
And then
And
there's a
then
head on a pike later.
yeah, they chop off the spy's head. Who I like that guy. I've always liked the spy in there. He did a good job. Now I have a question. You get sent. You're with the outsiders. Are you going to be jungle chic, Mad Max chic, or biker chic? Like, what's your like? Because some of these guys just immediately go Lord of the Flies. Like they've been there for 3 weeks and they're wearing like a skull over their head and some leaves. And then there's people who look like they're from the Mad Max world. And then there's other guys who maybe look like they're part of a biker gang. Even though Mad
Yeah.
Max are part of gangs, but there's just a different look. What would you pick? What gang would
I,
you be in?
I would first want to know because I'm too analytical by temperament. But do those outfits suggest some kind of hierarchy?
Well, there's different gangs, I think, because remember he said
So this is
he
like
united. There's like the
warriors.
yeah,
I'd be a I'd be a dead
yes,
rabbit.
yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Um,
Who are you gonna be?
I'd be a biker because I'm a lover, not a fighter.
You just be one of the bike. You wouldn't be out in the jungle hunting
And
and
not if I can
foraging.
help it. I don't know.
Yeah,
I think hmm.
I
I
like
don't
the
know if
Mad
I'd have
Max
much
sheep guys.
use.
Like
I,
Stuart
I'm
Wilson, he has a teeth now, a necklace made of teeth.
mhm.
Would you have that?
Well, if it was on offer, I mean, maybe I could trade it for something else.
That's barter system.
They must have some kind of commerce.
How did that necklace must have looked silly in the beginning?
It looks silly at the end. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, because
I
just
I
he slowly
well,
puts teeth on it.
I mean, are they all from the same
There's a lot
mouth
of them.
or is it different? There's a lot, but you only need one or two people to fill a necklace.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess there's a lot of people losing teeth out there. But yeah, it's very silly, and also they have quadruple their numbers. They could just kind of surround the place. But this isn't a movie for logic. I don't think like you know what I would do? I would do this. And like what these guys have this weapons, they'll go like that. This movie would fall apart if you did that, and that's why it's a good B movie because it takes itself very seriously. But yeah, if you kind of think about like they attack the fort and I think they have it, but then all of a sudden Stewart's like, we're out of here, and they all run away. So
Well,
it's a
the funniest line is there's this protracted battle, right? And the kind of casualties on both sides are pretty high. And then the following morning, Lance Henriksen goes, "Yeah, they hit us like this a few times a year."
yeah.
It's like, what?
Like what? Yeah, like what did they get out of it?
It doesn't look like either side really got much out of it other than here we go again.
And that
It's a
could
seasonal thing. They're gonna be back.
well, it's the harvest. Here they come.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then maybe like once during winter to take whatever stocks they have.
Well, so yeah, it's like they're the grasshoppers in A Bug's Life. They just come back. They come back at a. I mean, do they come back at predictable patterns or it's very strange. But the thing that I was curious about was like you'd said that Galen Hurd intervened and said, no, you're not going to have a big like battle at the end,
Yeah, they ran
which
out
is
of
why
money.
the
Yeah.
yeah, makes perfect sense. And frankly, they already had the big fort battle, so why do another one? I think it's smarter to have it end on that big explosion because it ties in neatly with like the explosion bloom kind of sets off satellite warnings, and that's why the warden has to come and intervene. So it ties in. I mean, if they had to improvise that as a late script draft, that's pretty smartly done. But it makes me wonder, okay, so did they have to re-envision the ending to incorporate that like napalm gun? And does that mean the napalm gun was written into the script after the fact? Because it appears very early on. And so it's kind of like Chekhov's gun,
Mhm.
because it has to make an appearance later. But if they decided on the explosion late in the game, does that mean they rewrote and reshot everything involving that weapon from the earlier scenes?
Maybe he got up on a tower later and he blew it up. Liotta did, or maybe they had something with a boat or a helicopter that they shot
Yeah.
down. So I mean, I guess it could have been into play, but what they did was pretty elegant. They just all run in there, and then he blows them up. Like it worked out pretty well. And also, Martin Campbell loves a high fight. I just thought about this. Mask of Zorro has that big quarry fight up in the air. Vertical
Hmm.
Limit, Goldeneye has that fight. There's a crane fight in Casino Royale. I think that's like his thing. They have a fight in a tower in here as well. I just wanted to throw that out there.
That's a
Something
good
that
point.
he loves
Well,
a high
yeah,
fight.
yeah.
I mean, think
Yeah,
about
that's a
it.
good point.
It's easy to create tension because if you fall, you're dead. So you're
Yeah.
stuck up there. So I think it's an easy way to kind of, get that out. And also, too, Stuart Wilson's death in this. uh, I guess one of the producers, they originally just had him falling into the water and dying, but one of the producers suggested that he fell into the log. And I guess a lot of people had problems with how violent that was, but then the producer blames Campbell for it, which I kind of love. And he was complaining about that on one of the behind the scenes
Well,
videos.
if he threw Campbell under the bus, then that's no good. But otherwise, because having him fall on a spike is exactly the right thing to do, right? It has to be.
Yes, because he just survived an explosion. Like he
Well, he's
just,
also he's also a completely over the top bananas character, right? So he has to have an over the top death to go with it. That just seems par for the course. And I do like that. I mean, this movie is violent. Like there's like arrows in the mouth and all kinds of really good kills, but it's not so graphic that it couldn't have been pared down to a PG-13. Like I can almost I don't suggest at all that they were under pressure to do so, but if they had been says no, you got to make this PG-13, I don't think it would have taken that much
yeah,
to get it across that finish line. And so the fact that they lean into the violence and just, okay, well let's secure it as an R, not a hard R, but just R enough to give it a little bite, to give it a little bit of zhuzh, I think is the smart way to go, particularly for a B film that's not like interested in what impressing anybody in any other way. Yeah, it's the right amount of violence. And then to have the most comic character have an arguably kind of comic death in its excess and its campiness, then that's the way to go. That's tonally correct, I think.
there's really there's no way for him to come back because I feel like in any other movie he would come back if he just fell into the water because he had just come back after getting blown up. So yeah, you got to impale the guy
You got to
to do that.
ensure, right? Like, yeah.
He's definitely dead. And I like that. I would love a rating system where like the R is like barely an R, and then like really R. That'd be an interesting rating system for people. Like rated R, but barely. I wonder if like more kids would go watch that then. They could lower that to 15. I don't know. Never mind. But this movie, it only made 15
Well,
million.
yeah.
Next Karate Kid made more than it. Monkey Trouble, Terminal Velocity, The War, Milk Money. I think this from what I know, I think this
Milk Money made more money
yeah.
than this?
Yes, Milk. That
Man.
movie's crazy, Professor Mike Dillon. It's one of those where this exists. This movie exists. It's kind of crazy. Like even Getting Even with Dad, House Party 3, 8 Seconds, they all made more than this. But I mean,
Wow.
at the time, Liotta was big, good actor, good fellas. He was in the Kurt Russell movie that did well, where he's the cop. But I don't know. I guess
Oh,
there's not.
was that Unlawful Entry?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Unlawful Entry. Yeah, but I think with this movie, he's not leading it yet. I don't like. He was also on Karina this year, and it didn't do too well. So I think
Hmm.
everyone likes him as an actor. He's a respected actor, great actor, but he's not the super lead. Also, like Ernie Hudson was great, but he didn't lead too many movies. Lance Henriksen was great. He led a couple films, but he wasn't the ultimate guy. No one pretty much knew who Stuart Wilson was yet. So I think people did, but he wasn't a big name. And then also, I think the general person who watches this trailer, I think it's very male skewed. I don't think like I'm sorry if I'm not trying to say women wouldn't want to watch this movie, but I think they market it largely towards like men wanting to go see some violence on an island because there's really no female characters in this movie. So I think it did kind of limit itself box office wise. So I don't know if it was maybe the smartest gamble to make, but it's still, like you said, a good B movie that hit a certain audience and then did well on cable. Like this is a really great cable movie. Because you could even, like you said, even
Yeah.
to fit 2 hours, you could cut some scenes out and you could be totally fine with this film. Like you could just cut out most of Casey. Like, you can't really do that because he has to die in the whole pool fight. But there's certain moments you could get out of this film and you could pare it down to 2 hours and it just plays well. But yeah, this didn't do too. That was kind of a bummer. This only made 15 million that year. So
I'm not surprised that it underperformed because I think this is the kind of thing that has a second life, like you say, on cable or now on a streaming platform, and people discover it. You're right. I mean, it is like marketed to the sort of dad demo, like I said earlier. But so I'm not surprised it underperformed. I am surprised that it performed worse than like Milk Money or Getting Even with Dad. Maybe in context, not so much because there are legitimate reasons why all those made a little bit of business. But this one, I mean, you can tell Ray Liotta is people like him, but he is struggling to find his footing a little bit post Goodfellas,
yeah,
right? He's landing roles that are really just kind of like continuing the momentum of his career. He's just sort of, oh, Ray Liotta's in this. Yeah, Ernie Hudson. I mean, this is the same year as The Crow, right? But he's settling in as a character actor. So is a bunch of these people. I think Lance Henriksen, right? I mean, he's kind of got this association with the horror films, or yeah, or as villains, right? Because Hard Target, things like that. So, are we still doing Hard Target
yes.
sometime?
I was thinking that I was gonna say we should do that next because
Yes,
that movie
put
rules.
put it in my veins. But yeah, so to have him play this kind of like very tender guru character, I think is I don't know if it was casting against type because I'd have to go through his filmography, but that's kind of that's good casting. It's interesting. You perk up a little bit when you see Lance Henriksen. So yeah, I think given that you're what casting among sort of affordable character actors in relatively small parts, this movie works great.
I
And
agree.
it's a shame that what makes a B movie like this work, which is sort of casting at a certain tier and budgeting at a certain tier, what makes the movie really click and work as a B property is also unfortunately what kind of keeps it away from like matinee box office, right? Because it doesn't have any big enough stars to compete with like a Macaulay Culkin circa early 90s or Forgetting Even with Dad or even like Melanie
Richie
Griffith.
Rich.
Yeah.
Milk Money.
So I mean, yeah, Milk Money has really not a lot going for it other than it's just a really troubling premise by today's standards, but it has stars in it, right?
Yeah, Ed Harris, Melanie Griffith.
Yeah, and
Even when I was
so
12 watching that movie, I remember going, "Phew, this is this is a concept." Like I remember just even a 12-year-old kid, I was like, this is an interesting choice these people made to make this movie. I know we're getting on milk money when we're talking about No Escape, but that movie, whenever I see it, it just kind of blows my
Whenever
mind
you
a
see
little
it,
bit.
huh? So like every few years you circle back to Milk Money.
Oh no, whenever I just see that it exists, or whenever I'm reminded that it exists, I always laugh because it's just such a crazy idea. But
What's the other, like Blank Check is the other one. There's a
oh
lot of
god,
sort of,
yeah, the
yeah,
lady smooches him at the end.
yeah, just normalizing that kind of pedophilia.
There's a lot of kids movies though in '94. That has nothing to do. But there was like Andre, Baby's Day Out, My Girl 2, Getting Even with Dad. It
Hmm.
was a different era back then. That was probably my awake. '94 is pretty much the year for me where cinema sort of I watched everything because I remember I went to The Crow. I bought a ticket for White Fang 2, went to The Crow. I saw Speed, True Lies in the theater. I also saw Forrest Gump in the theater, but I also went and saw The War in the theater. I saw Little Giants in the theater. Leon. I became obsessed with The Professional. So that like I think whenever I look back to '94, I have such fond memories. I know it's a stacked year, but also that was the year when I just started watching everything. And I have such good memories of that. And No Escape's a part of that. I think it just sometimes you just got to watch a movie that has no potential. Like there's not a lot of drama. There's no drama. Is there drama in this movie? Is there any drama?
Well, I mean, Liotta gets a moment where he's having some kind of war flashback, and it's
Yeah.
the one big emotional scene. That's the scene I would cut completely. But
They
like
don't
I
lean into
said,
that enough.
well, they don't lean into it, but I also, like I said earlier, I don't really think the character arc that he needs is for him to just, no, I'm trying to get back to spread the word about a war crime that I was involved in. And that's why, I'm not a psychopath who went crazy due to the pressures of being a soldier and the brutality of war and just snapped and killed my superior. No, my superior is actually a bigger scumbag who's like covering up a war crime and no one believed me, which is why I took matters into my own hands. It's like, no, we don't need him to be an actual hero because he's much more interesting to me anyway as a person who cannot escape his own violent nature. And that's why you get a Ray Liotta because he can communicate so much hate in his eyes and malice, right? Like he needs to be like a feral animal, which is what made him a really good soldier until he snapped, right? So it's like, hey, you molded me into this killing machine. You were perfectly happy to send me out to kill civilians or engage in warfare when you knew I was an unstoppable killing machine that suited your purposes. But the second I step out of line and like bite the hand that feeds me, you're going to send me to this jungle prison. It's like, okay, well, I'm going to do what an animal does, which is like lash out and fight for its survival. And so to say, oh no, no, but he's not like a he's not like a bad psychopathic soldier killing machine. He's one of the good psychopathic soldier killing machines, right? It's like, I don't need that for this movie to work and for this movie to have bite.
It should have been more like an escape from LA or New York, where Snake
Yeah.
just out for
Pliskin
himself.
Pliskin doesn't give a shit,
He doesn't.
right?
Yeah. Pliskin doesn't give a shit. I
Although
think
although Pliskin's not a bastard through and through though. He believes in sort of honor.
yeah, but
He
yeah,
he
it's
does
true.
team up with people along the way and he's good to them. Because he's an honorable bastard
Yeah.
at the end. Yeah.
But this guy, I think you're right because I think it's a very strong intro though, where he just walks out a line and shoots a guy in the head. That's
Hmm.
interesting. And then he's like, yeah, that guy ordered me to do something I didn't want to do. Like I'm a psychopath. I've killed a lot of people, but I don't, they sent me out there, threw me under the bus. All these people died. That's fine. Like I like that. And then he escapes from prison. He just wants out. He doesn't want to go back. But yeah, you don't really need that redemption arc. And also with Casey, I know I said this movie was perfect earlier, but I mean with Kevin Dillon getting killed, I don't know if that was necessary either because he's a nice character, but you knew he was fodder to begin with. So yeah, but also that's the B movie of it all too. I think you got to take like with this film, you I don't know if Kevin Dillon is necessary for the plot, but I don't know. It's an excuse for him to go back to Merrick's fort and have a water fight. So
It
I
well,
think
it what makes it B is not only that the scene is preposterous and over the top, but it's also basically lifted from the exact same scene in Spartacus. So the fact, yeah, the fact that they're reaching back to something that classy for this movie is also what adds an element of just like campiness to it. You it's like, oh wow, you guys are doing Spartacus now. All right, that's lofty. I'm for it.
I see you, Campbell.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, go big or go home.
And but it still works, and I have nothing but fond memories. So like when we were talking about this movie, you mentioned No Escape, and I my ears perked up because this is a film. I think you're right though. It's a dad movie in that it has a. It's one of these movies where you watch it and you're like, well, that doesn't need a new. But when you think about it, when you're just walking around, when I'm out on a walk and I think about No Escape, I like it. I have a smile on my face. I remember this film fondly, and I think that's kind of the best kind of dad movie where it's very undemanding. There's a little bit like it's a little uneven. There's not much drama. You can just put it on, and I think that's kind of perfect. Like, if Kevin Costner's like the dad movie king. If he was in this, he would become like the savior of the island. I think he would save everybody, and they would do all this and that. I like that Liotta just goes away on a helicopter, and he's gonna go take care of some business with Kevin J. O'Connor, which would be a great movie. But like, yeah, who knows if they'll help him? Who knows what? Like, and also they're not going to get free if these are terrible people. They're all just going to go to another jail. I would assume, like Penguin Island.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. So, I mean, Kevin Costner, especially circa 1994, would not have accepted a role in which he's playing an unredeemable bastard. I
Mhm.
mean, this is where the Snake Plissken comparison comes in. Say there are like Snake Plissken is a great example of how to make an anti-hero. He's basically a bastard, but he's really likable, and you want to root for him, even though you would never trust your safety with him, right? You would never want to team up with him because he is a bastard, but he's a very, very watchable one, which is why I don't think it's necessary to give Ray Liotta's character an actual redemption arc, because there's precedent for having a genuinely unlikable person be really, really fun to watch and have him be a bastard all the way through. And Kevin Costner circa 94 would not have taken that role. And I think we have all the evidence we need because Kevin Costner has his own version of this movie in 94, and it's Waterworld, right?
Yeah.
There's no comparison in terms of budget scale, but in terms of kind of a really outrageous stunt oriented, very makeshift sets and production design. Like there's I think Waterworld is a good comparison. There's also really solitacious stunts because it has just a gigantic budget compared to Absalom, but compared to No Escape, sorry. But yeah, you can just tell like Ray Liotta is a clear anti-hero, and then the Mariner in Waterworld is an anti-hero until he's just straight up hero,
Yeah, he throws the lady
right?
off the boat.
There's no ambiguity.
He shaves some heads, but then he's the hero. And he's like, "Oh crap, I gotta go get him."
Yeah, there's no ambiguity. They give him, like a love interest, and he's got a child to protect. It's like, yeah, there's no wiggle room for like, well, is he gonna end up betraying them at the end? Is that even possible? Whereas like with Ray Liotta, they do stretch that as long as they can, which is like, hey, as soon as I get on this chopper, I'm out of here. It's like, hey, I don't care about your mission here. I don't care about your community. I want out. And they maintain that tone with Leota pretty much as far as they can. I'm saying I wish they had just like committed to it because I don't think it would have really dampened my enjoyment of seeing this character navigate this world. But it's like you don't get that with the Kevin Costner persona. You don't get it in Waterworld. And so this is my long-winded way of saying I agree with you, right? This has to work at a certain budget level where you don't have the baggage that comes with major movie stars. This is a movie that works because you have character actors who you can imagine going in certain directions that are maybe a little unpredictable or surprising or less formulaic.
Yeah, absolutely. And I have another question? Like during this period, Leota he comes off Goodfellas and Unlawful Entry, and he follows it up with No Escape, Karina, and Operation Dumbo Drop. And I think with No Escape,
Ooh,
they softened his character a lot. Karina, it's like a rom com with Whoopi Goldberg. Then Operation Dumbo Drop is Disney, like kind of softened Disney. So I wonder if he made an attempt to kind of soften his persona and it didn't really work because then he followed that up with Unforgivable and Turbulence, like Copland and then a couple years later he's in Hannibal, Heartbreakers. He as like the silly kind of funny criminal.
He's
And then
so good. He's so good in
oh,
Heartbreakers.
he's amazing in Heart.
Yeah.
Like that movie, like Gene Hackman, like
That
Jennifer
movie's
Love Hewitt.
great.
Yeah, like
Yeah, I know a lot of people just like I remember telling people at the time, you got to see Heartbreakers, and they're like, "What? Jennifer Love Hewitt? Are you kidding me? How is it you've even seen that movie, Mr. Horror Guy?" I'm like, "No, no, no. Watch it. Get
and
back to
Hewitt's
me."
funny in it with
Um,
Jason Lee and Sigourney Weaver, but I think and then he did Narc. I think he sort of figured out
Mm,
identity. I think he kind of figured out who he is a little bit as a performer, like Smoking Aces, and like he went back for comedy again in Wild Hogs. But I think he tried to soften himself a little bit. So I wonder, this is all speculation, but he made of might like he does soften up a lot in this movie. So I wonder if that was a choice on his part
yeah,
to.
I wonder. Yeah, I wonder if the conversations he was having with his managers and all the rest of it had more to do with, okay, am I gonna soften myself up, or do I want to play hard hitting gangster types? Do I want to play heavies, or do I want to soften it up? Versus the conversation being, am I a leading man or am I a character actor?
Yeah,
You know,
because
like
he
which pedal am I gonna put my foot on for the moment? And like maybe, he had a little, there's some lumpy moments in the 90s where he was still kind of figuring it out. But then again, it's hard to, I'd be very curious to know if there's any way of finding out what those conversations were like. Of course, now that he's passed, that's going to be harder. The other thing to keep in mind is like, okay, like it's a very eclectic slate of movies that are coming out in 94 with Ray Liotta. But then again, it's hard to know, like, well, when were these movies filmed?
yeah.
Because sometimes like an actor appears in like four different movies in one year. And it's not because they're just like putting out more and more stuff. It's like, well, I made this movie last year, so it naturally coming out this year. But that other movie, I shot that 3 years ago, and due to some like range of circumstance, it's coming out now after it did a couple years on the festival circuit. So actors have very little control over when the movie they shot is actually coming out. And so as a result, you sometimes get these sort of scaffolding of like three completely different things coming out. And that I don't know, it doesn't necessarily indicate to me that the actors like sort of bouncing between projects that are totally different in quite the same way that we experience it when you have like three Ray Liotta movies coming out within 6 months that are just completely alien to each other. So yeah, I would need to dig a little bit more myself to know exactly what his game plan was with any sort of satisfaction.
It's kind of I just think he made an interesting attempt at sort of softening himself, and then he just went back to Unforgettable and Turbulence, which I bought on like a 4K, lower
Yeah.
Turbulence. Jeez Louise, because he's just great in that movie. But yeah, I think
But it's also like really an indication of because we talk about this a lot. We talked about it with Brandon Lee, we talked about it with
yeah,
some others, I think. There's the question of Mark Dacascos, so like where is this movie in the sort of sequence of his career? Because it's not just a sort of because you're talking about people who are in a marketplace, right? So you have to ask yourself, okay, well, post Goodfellas, he's probably getting offered a certain type of role or certain, he has a certain credibility to him, marketability to him. But then how is he utilizing that? Is he going to go in softer, more comedic roles, or does he even have the chops? Or are people going to take risks like that with the guy from Goodfellas? Can this guy actually do comedy? Or are they going to more reliably put him in more intense stuff where he's killing people? There's a viciousness to him. That seems to be more logical, right? But then you can see why he would want to avoid typecasting. And so I feel like you have to kind of get a lay of the land to understand sort of what kind of work he's being offered to begin with.
hmm
Because at the end of the day, like, why did he take that role? Why did he take that role? It's like, well, how many roles did he have to choose from, right? Like, obviously, Copland is going to reach out to Ray Liotta because, like, that's exactly the kind of movie you'd expect him to be in. But then, like, Karina, what were those filmmakers thinking? Like, because they're the ones who offered it to Ray Liotta, right? So were they the ones thinking, like, yeah, well, we need someone who is associated with like kind of viciousness, but then give him a tenderness, and that's going to be really interesting and informative for audiences. Or does Ray Liotta did he at the time have just an amazing publicist who was like, no, 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 you got to take a look at his softer side, and then yeah. So there's this whole like matrix of economic considerations that are going to inform why Ray Liotta is in Karina beyond just the fact that like Ray Liotta was maybe looking for something to soften his image and I think that's endlessly fascinating. It's also like a giant rabbit hole that
yeah, it
we'll never
is.
reach the
Yeah,
bottom of. But yeah,
but also like Goodfellas, right? 90, and then he did Article 99, where he's a doctor with Forrest Whitaker and Keith Sutherland.
hmm.
It's kind of like a comedy called Article 99. But I think Unlawful Entry, he's heavy in that movie. I think that's a movie where, and I know he plays the villain in it, and I think he was a little wary of it because I did have to research that movie. I've covered it on the show before. But yeah, I think that's a heavy role right there. Like he's just trying to attack. He's trying to rape Madeline Stowe. He's super slimy, super Ray Liotta, I guess, for lack of a better term. So yeah, and then he didn't do another movie. I mean, he filmed multiple movies probably in 92, 93, 94. But maybe after that he wanted to pivot. I don't, that's just my thought. And I have to research it. We're just speculating. But I just find his career fascinating because he has this interesting blip between 94 and 95 where he went for leading man status and it kind of didn't work too well. And then he went back to an incredibly, busy character actor career. But
Yeah.
I like I like that he made a run, but I think sometimes maybe you fired a publicist because what I heard, like Operation Double Drop was insane to film. That movie was kind of crazy, but I mean, I don't know. Karina has a 6.6 on IMDb, so maybe it's aged well. I haven't watched it in a very long time. Have you watched Karina?
Yeah, yeah.
Have you watched
I
Karina
know.
Karina?
I have seen it. I have like vague memories of it. I couldn't speak to whether it's, whether it holds up. Is Tina Majorino, is that her name?
Yeah, she had a good
She's
94
in it,
too.
right?
Yeah, she had a good 94. She was also
Because
in
she's in
what,
Waterworld,
Andre?
yeah.
Yeah, she had a good run there. Also, I have a question. Do we need the prison in the beginning of this movie? Or could it worked better if they just dumped him on the island? Because you set up the
Um,
warden as the bad guy and you get the information dump about who the character is. But like you take it's really interesting film in that you take this sci-fi like rail car, like a train to a like a desert that is just a wasteland seemingly, and then he gets in some trouble and they send him to an island. So in the book it was off the coast of England, like 20.
there's a book.
Yeah, it's based on a book and they're like 20, 30
Okay.
miles off the course
I
for.
guess I missed that credit. Yeah.
Yeah, and this one I just don't know why there's like it almost looks like a post-apocalyptic world prison where all the
Yeah.
worst guys go. But it's just an odd tone because nothing else in the movie even fits that. And they're talking about like Benghazi, so I don't know why they they need a super.
How did they know?
Yeah.
Uh, yeah. So this takes place in 2022, right? I
Yeah,
think yeah,
yeah.
which I believe is the same year Ray Liotta passed away. So RIP. But yeah, I mean, I that's a really good question because we're also concerned about the excessive length of the movie. Like, do you need that frame narrative? I think there are certain things that the prison set up in the beginning does do that are important, but don't really follow through on. So for one thing, okay, well, there is a super villain here. There's like a larger umbrella villain overall, which is the warden. And it's like, okay, well, we're used to evil wardens, and he's there to like the island is not just like not to pun intended, but it just doesn't kind of live on its own little island. You're right. It's a symptom of a larger network of prison corruption and megalomania on the part of the warden. And so there is like a systemic problem that needs the whistle blown on, which becomes kind of the mission at the end, which is like you got to tell the world about this place. So you kind of need a network so this just doesn't just exist in a vacuum, I suppose. As someone myself who like vibrates to Michel Foucault, I keep wondering about well, how it's unclear to me how this is profitable because it's a world of private prisons. And I mean, it's like really anachronistic and charming that Hollywood felt that this was some like genuinely dystopian vision in 1994, because now we just call it the norm. But like the question of who is devoting resources to a prison system like this in 2022? Thanks, Biden. Yeah, it's enough to warrant being sent here because you have Ray Liotta, who is like genuinely, he's escaped every single prison system he's been in. He's like a dangerous psychopath. He's the kind of animal who like we can't contain him. We need to send him to the specialized impossible to break out of prison. Along with Kevin Dillon, who just like got mixed up in a botched kidnapping or something like that. It's like that's I don't understand why all this hodgepodge of people all belong on this island. It seems like if anybody, he's the one who belongs in like a minimum security. Who's he? Who's he a threat to? So there's something kind of about the world that I don't understand. Oh, is there a woman's island nearby?
I want that movie. Who just starred in that in 94?
94. I don't know.
More
Mira
Demi Moore?
Sorvino. Demi Moore, yeah. No, Demi Moore's too big at this time.
Oh yeah.
90, no, no. Joanne Whalley,
Who's Joanne Whalley?
Val Kilmer's ex-wife. She's
Oh,
in Willow. Because
yeah.
she's in Trial by Jury in 94 or 95. So it just comes to mind.
Oh man, she's amazing in Willow. Will she be good? I know I just dropped Andy McDowell. I'm joking.
Yeah, circa 94. I don't think she would have gone for it. Melinda
Imagine,
Clark, maybe.
imagine her as the lead. What about Last Seduction?
Say
Linda
again.
Fiorentino.
Ooh, okay, well, okay, as our lead?
Yeah.
Huh. That could work.
Oh, she'd be good.
That could work great. So who's our Merrick? And who's our Lance Henriksen? Who's our guru?
Who's our Merrick? Oh my gosh.
Because I would cast today's Andy McDowell and the Lance Henriksen character that role.
Okay, so they have to choose scenery. Can't be no Christy Swanson.
Too
Madeline
young.
Stowe, she's too big.
Hmm.
Let's see. I'm just looking at 1994 movies trying to come. Jamie Lee Curtis? No, 94 was huge for her. She'd be a good Merrick, though. Would Jamie Lee Curtis be a good Merrick? Mia Sarah?
Um, Circa 94, Mia Sarah. Circa 94, Jamie Lee Curtis.
Yeah.
Merrick needs to be older than Mia Sarah would have been.
Oh, yeah,
Because
that's true.
she's in Time Cop that year, huh? And Jamie Lee's in True Lies that year. 94 had a lot going on, come to think of it.
Sarandon? No, well, she's in The Client. Jodie Foster was in Maverick.
What about like Michelle Pfeiffer
Whoa. Yeah, there we go.
as
She's
Merrick,
Merrick.
right? Or is it, well, I mean, I can see her not wanting to do that post Catwoman. It's like, listen, I already did a scenery chewing villain. I don't want this to be a thing.
Yeah, I don't want to go to the
Yeah.
jungle for all these months. No
Hmm.
Meg Ryan, no Meryl Streep. Let's see.
Diane Wiest as Merrick, or
with
as father, I
with
guess
the
would be fine.
tooth bracelet. What
Just
about like Jada Pinkett? Oh no, she's too young at this point. Never mind.
yeah,
Um,
Jodie Foster.
she'd be a great Merrick
I could
with the
see her in
tooth
any of
necklace.
these roles.
I want to put a tooth necklace on her and just see what happens. But is she too big though? That's a big name in '94.
Yeah.
Kim Basinger?
Is Maverick 94? I'm
Yeah,
just putting
Maverick's
people in other
94.
films. Yeah. Kim Basinger 94, huh? Like, so the Getaways.
Yeah, that wasn't too big.
Hmm.
I like our pick for Ray Liotta. Let's see. Kate Winslet. No, she was too young. No Cameron
I can
Diaz.
think if we were
Jessica
to
Lange?
remake, Jessica Lang. Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
94 is her Oscar, right?
Yeah.
For
Blue
whatever
Sky.
that movie was, Blue Sky. Yeah.
Winona Ryder's too young.
Well, Winona Ryder.
Toni Collette. Whoa. She was young, but she's great.
Frances McDormand.
That's Merrick. Yes.
Yeah, pre Fargo.
Francis McDormand is Merrick.
Yeah, why not?
That's perfect.
Go
I
big
think
or
we
go
did it.
home. I do think that if we just did a straight remake of No Escape Now, like Glenn Powell, right, for Ray Liotta.
Glenn Powell. Oh yeah. Well, he's too clean now. Have you
Well,
seen
that's
him?
why we gotta. Well, we'll see, like, because he's doing Running Man, right? That's going to be a little rugged.
His glow up has been extreme. So I'd be worried
Yeah.
about dumping him in here. What about like
Jason
Charles
Momoa.
Melton?
Yeah, Melton's maybe a little pretty.
Yeah, he's
Hmm.
very he's very pretty.
I was gonna suggest Jason Momoa as Ray Liotta or as Merrick, but
As
if he did Merrick, it would hew a little too close to his Fast X
yeah,
performance,
yeah.
maybe. But
He's
yeah,
too big, right? Like he's a big boy, Momoa. We need a lean, mean guy.
hmm.
The guy from Priscilla and Euphoria. I wouldn't cast him. Michael B. Jordan's probably too big. I've got not Jack Nicholson's kid, not Randy Quaid's kid, not Philip Seymour
Oh,
Hoffman's kid, all the famous actors' kids. Wait, what about
hmm.
weapons? Brolin too old?
Um, I think Brolin's too understated. Like Brolin doesn't do crazy,
Sean William Scott,
does he? Not really. Sean William Scott, Hugh
Iko
Laurie.
Ue, Joe Taslim.
Just bring Udo Kier out there. I
Wait,
don't know
no,
how
this is
old
what
he
I
is
want.
now, but
Scott ad as Merrick. Just let him go.
maybe,
Give him some
I
gold
mean,
teeth.
yes, do it. Have
Yeah.
him just do what he plays Killa in John Wick 4. Just do
Yeah.
that performance.
Just
Yeah.
give him the teeth. Like he has the teeth in Avengement. He has the teeth in John Wick 4. There we go. And then Marco Zarrar as Ray Liotta.
You'd go Zaror, huh?
Yeah, why
Okay.
not?
Well then the father figure,
Louis
the Lance
Mandylor.
Henriksen, well, that character would have to be a similar action legend, but older, right? Someone retired. So like a Sonny Chiba or
Oh, yeah, I like that.
or Bolo Young or something.
Bolo Young? Oh,
Why
like
not?
Harrison Ford?
Making the
No.
wise.
Yeah, Bolo Young. Let's do that. I think we just made my
Yeah.
favorite
Or
movie.
or Dolph Lundgren as Lance Henriksen. Why not?
And like he
Right? He uses his chemistry knowledge to kind of like help with coming up with like medicinal remedies and moonshine and all that to keep the community going. He's a doctor.
this is and JJ Perry directs it.
Hey, have JJ do anything.
What do you think? I think we got a cast here.
I think you want to go halvesies on this? We just produce it.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's talk to
I
Lionsgate.
I I found out rather recently. I'm mildly ashamed to admit that I didn't know this, but Escape Plan with Schwarzenegger and Stallone,
Yeah,
which is like fine. It's a again a fun little B movie, and it has an amazing scene where Schwarzenegger's like rambling incoherently in perfect German, which you just never hear Schwarzenegger do. So that was fun. But what I found out recently is that there's like at least two straight to streaming sequels.
watch one of them.
I didn't even know that this was a thing. So I thought there's no reason why, if No Escape hadn't made a little bit more money, that we wouldn't have gotten like two or three No Escape sequels on straight to video at the time, right? There's like all these like From Dusk Till Dawn sequels that don't have anybody really worth mentioning.
With Bon
Uh,
Jovi.
yeah,
Mark Dacascos could have been in one because he was, like he was having some 94 wasn't the best year for him. So I think after Double Dragon and all that, so he could have done a one of these
he could have. I
films.
can see depending on when this was pitched to him because he presumably had such a bad experience on the island of Dr. Moreau. They'd be like, I'm not doing any more jungle stuff, maybe.
Christian Slater. Wait,
Yeah, Christian
Stephen Dorff.
Slater. Steven Dorff feels a little obvious.
Maybe Dolph. He was doing sequels. He was doing like he wasn't getting 95 was Giant Mnemonic. So I don't think he's there
Well, the
yet.
thing is, I'm more interested in sort of unconventional casting, which is why casting Dolph as the Lance Henriksen character, as
Yeah,
this sort
that's
of
true.
tender patriarch, like that's kind of interesting. Whereas putting him in the lead role is too obvious. And so with Steven Dorff, he does have that like animal intensity to him, which is what would make him perfect as a substitute to Leota. But again, because I think it would be more interesting to put him in a different role, you would want to put him in like the Lance Henriksen role, but he's way too young, circa 94 for that. So
Charlie Sheen
Charlie Sheen, Martin Sheen.
as Merrick. Just
Oh, like Charlie
Emilio,
Sheen as
Charlie,
Merrick, Emilio as Ray Liotta, Charlie Sheen as
Merrick.
Merrick, and then Martin Sheen as the father figure. There you go. Nicolas Cage as Merrick. Two
He
on
would
the
do it.
nose.
I me's doing like what's that movie where he's like I'm a BMF or oh man, Kiss of Death when he's
Kiss
like
of
Little
Death.
Junior Brown or I think that's his name. He'd be a great Merrick.
Oh,
What about Robin Williams as Ray Liotta?
isn't that just Hook?
Going to an island and getting the Lost Boys to fight a
Like
comically large villain.
Dustin. Yeah, it's the Lost Boys. You've got Dustin Hoffman is basically doing a version of Merrick and Hook,
Wow, there it is. I think I like these
and then Maggie
movies
Smith
now.
as Lance Henriksen.
You know what the problem with No Escape is? I think with Giant Mnemonic, with Street Fight, like there's like this like Street Fighter had a crazy production and there was a video game before it. This movie's production was fine. They kind of ran out of some money because working in Australia is tough because just the weather and like they got delayed a lot because of working on location. And then when you work on location for longer than expected, it drains the money. So they had to cut the thing. But other than that, this wasn't a nightmare film to shoot. Everyone walked away from it just fine. It's pretty liked on most sites. Like I think it's 59% Rotten Tomatoes, six something percent on IMDb. So, but that also doesn't have any big themes in it. So it's kind of tough and it didn't leave much of a cultural imprint, but it's still something worth talking about because it fills a very specific void of B movie or dad movie, I think. But it's like there's really no production problems. The acting's fine. Maybe it's a little long, but it's still it's a tough film to kind of break down because it's just successful in what it is, if that makes sense. I think that's a lot of Martin
Well,
Campbell's movies.
I think that's true, although I'm not fully in agreement that there's no thematic depth to it. I mean, it's not aiming for anything. It is unpretentious and it's just putting out a B actioner. But I was thinking about sort of how to view this movie through the lens of contemporary politics and things like that. And it did occur to me that, when you have this sort of insider outsider dynamic where one side is very Lord of the Flies and the other side is basically like a hippie commune,
Yeah.
right? Like
Yeah.
one
Very
side,
hippie.
yeah,
Yeah.
one side is like, I don't know, the jungles of Nam, and then the other side is like Portland. I don't know. So you've got like basically two competing visions of dictatorships in their own way, right? Benevolent versus evil. Like which side would you choose? The sort of completely open anarchy of the Merrick side versus the very kind of rule based, but also very constrained and disciplined, kind of more religious compound led by this character called the Father. There is like it's very Jesus versus Satan, if you think about it, right? Because once Ray Liotta enters the community of insiders, his narrative becomes about these sort of very Christian themes like redemption and penance. That takes over his character arc, right? Whereas the other side, the Merrick side, is just complete hedonism all the way through, right?
Wow.
There's like it's lawlessness. You do what you want when you want. You eat whatever you want and who you want. Yeah, there's a sort of kind of a discipline and law and order structure, communal collectivism versus absolute individuality and hedonism on the other side, because it's a world without rules, right? And so I feel like that dynamic of like good versus evil manifest and portrayed through these two avatars of like, no, the gentle Jesus figure of the Father, and you follow his teachings and you'll be all right, versus like, no, screw that, like, no, we're humans, we're animals, we're going to behave like animals, which is the Merrick side of things, right? And
But
I
yeah.
feel like if I were to really belabor the analogy, like you could potentially map that onto sort of any sort of society that's in a moment where it's competing with these two dual impulses, right? To do right by people or to succumb to the madness.
I mean,
Those are themes that are universal, I think.
that's a great point too. And to form a utopia, you need rules. Like, you can't just have a free for all. There needs to be something like, Demolition Man. Everyone's happy, everyone's peaceful, but there's so many rules. It's so
Mm-hmm.
many things are enforced. So I think in this one, if you fall asleep, which makes sense, you get kicked out. You die because things are dire. They get attacked 3-4 times a year by the outsiders,
Yeah,
which is crazy. But yeah, I guess you're not really living your life there, right? You're just living by the rules, but it's comfortable and there's friendship. You're building something. But then yeah, the other one, there's multiple gangs. They pretty much wear what they want. I don't think Merrick has a dress code for any of them. Like, if you want to put a skull on your head, do it. If you want to wear little goggles that pretty much knock out all of your vision, do it. Like, go for it. And they don't kick,
but
like, there's a
yeah,
guy in there with no legs. They haven't killed him. Like, they feed him. Like, they look out for him. So yeah,
but I
it's
mean, yeah, these seem like two very extreme versions of a very simple set of priorities and decisions that any society has to make, which is, on the one hand, you get, okay, well, we believe that cohabitation requires cooperation, and there are rules that you have to follow for the good of the group, and what you want to do personally isn't going to fly because we have a structure to maintain, and if you violate that, then there's going to be really harsh penalties. So you subjugate, or you what rescind your own individuality for the sake of peace and kind of what a no drama lifestyle.
big
Whereas
hunks
on
of
the other
bread, by the
hand,
way. They have a
what's
lot of bread on the
they're making
insiders
bread.
camp.
They've got farm animals, which
Yeah.
I think straight up get torched at the end with the big explosion, because I don't see them being evacuated. But then just to finish the point, on the other side, you have this sort of the other extreme of the spectrum, which is, yeah, it's a world in which you can do whatever you want. It's completely individualistic. You, like you say, you can wear what you want. There's no code. There's no whatever. So you can really lean into so whatever desires you might have. However, doing so comes at the risk of there being no order and structure. And so, the price to pay for your maximal individuality is the fact that you are among other people who are also maybe looking to stomp on you to get ahead. And so it's survival of the fittest more on one side, but with that comes a certain liberty that you're not going to get if you stick with the commune, right? Because then you have rules you have to follow for the good of the group. And so that, to me, that kind of individualism versus collectivism, that's a dynamic that a lot of sort of nation states have had to kind of figure out and negotiate all through the last basically 1.5 centuries. That's
Yeah.
interesting to me. Yeah.
No, no, you're right. I like that you said you have God versus the devil in here because Merrick is chaos incarnate. He doesn't care about life. But also, he said the average life,
He only cares
like,
about power. Yeah.
yeah, like 6 months is the like longest people live. Because if you get a staph infection or a cold, you're dead. If you don't shave, if you have bad anything, you get an infection, you're done. So it's yeah, but I guess you get to wear what you want and sling through trees and set up traps and maybe eat people, I guess. But I mean, I don't think everybody would fit into Lance Hendrickson's world. So it must be interesting how he created that because that wasn't always so idyllic. I think when they
Yeah.
created that.
Well, so this is where I think the film, I'm not criticizing the film for not being the version that I'm playing in my head. So it's not, I'm not knocking it, but I do think there are traces of this in there, which is I find it really interesting that okay, so you've got one world, one side that represents total chaos, and it's all being run by this single person who retains his power through violence, right? So it is very much kind of like a totalitarian situation. Like you've got the one unimpeachable leader who cannot be questioned, who cannot be usurped without an act of violence. And so, would you rather live in the peaceful society with a benevolent leader running the show? Yeah, one would say, of course, but it's more provocative to me to think, well, Lance Henriksen is also running a dictatorship.
Yep.
It's just one that's not characterized by violence. It has the sort of patina of cooperation and the sort of feel goodism. It's very kumbaya, but it's nonetheless kind of totalitarian in a different way. That's a provocative idea to begin with. But then what I think would have been really interesting is this idea of like when you say not everyone is going to have the temperament to fit in with Lance Henriksen's version of society, right? Even though they're not under constant threat of violence, they are giving up other freedoms or other sort of agencies in order to fit in with that. And so you can see how someone like, in particular, Ray Liotta's character doesn't feel like belong because yeah, I'm a lone wolf. I'm not someone, I don't work well with others. And that's like the one precondition for getting to live with you guys is to be part of the group. It's like, nah, that doesn't work for me. And so what's interesting to me is that Ray Liotta, the character, clearly belongs in the Merrick camp, and yet he finds himself fighting on behalf of the Lance Henriksen camp. That dynamic and that irony, I think, is like really interesting. It's not explored in the film, and if they were to, it would just add another 20 minutes to the runtime. So that's totally fine. But I do think there's kind of an interesting dynamic in that sort of like, well, which camp is he a better fit for? Arguably Merrick, but that's not where he ends up. And I think the character arc needs to kind of catch up to that fact and make him worthy of the Lance Henriksen camp, which is why they start inserting like these moral dilemmas
Mm,
that he has that actually, you know what, he's a badass, but he also kind of he's kind of a softie. And that's where the Kevin Dillon character comes in because he has this sort of big brother role to play with him, right? So it's like, okay, you kind of had to tweak the Ray Liotta's ferocity in order to, you know, make him conform to the value system of the second camp, even though when he arrives, he clearly is sort of more at home in the philosophy anyway of the first one. Does that make sense? I
no,
think.
I'm with you. No, that was great. I was just listening to you. You're on fire there. I like that a lot. And I think, but I have a question with a lot of movies, how they soften them. This movie just it never commits to any of it. It just sprinkles it in. Do you like that in movies when they're like, we can't fully pursue this, so we're just gonna drop in a couple mentions of it? Does that annoy you as someone who watches movies?
I think it depends on like I always ask the question, how successfully is this movie doing what it's setting out to do, right? And so let's not deny the precepts here. This is a B movie. It's got a budget. We have to have realistic expectations. And so if it's doing things in a way that only confuse the issue or introduce new plot holes or just kind of make the thing ridiculous, then you got to wonder, it's like, okay, well, could this larger problem have been resolved if you had been a little more clear about why you're dropping this information or why you're withholding certain information? Like if you had just explained that to us, would we be less confused? The example I like to give is in Independence Day. Like a big question people had was how is Jeff Goldblum using his MacBook or his laptop to interface with this alien technology? Right? How are you like connecting like a USB or whatever it is and uploading a virus to this alien spaceship? And I don't know if you've seen this, but there's a deleted scene in which he says exactly like, yeah, well, our technologies aren't going to interface, so let me write a little code that's going to translate it for us. or something like that. It's a completely throwaway line. And of course, it scientifically doesn't make any sense, but it at least addresses the plot
That's all
hole.
you need,
That's
right?
all you need. And I was like, I wonder, did it really affect your pacing that much to have to cut that scene? Because you clearly made a choice to cut that and leave everyone confused as to how this technology is like doing its thing during the critical final climactic moment of the film. It doesn't seem like it would have done much harm to just leave it in, and you've done more harm to like just the basic credibility of this plot by taking it out, right? And
Hmm.
so, so I do wonder, you have to do case by case analysis of like, does it make sense to leave these things? But at the same time, to go back to your question, does it annoy me when they hint at these sort of larger issues and then don't follow up on them? Yeah, case by case is the short answer. But another answer I would have to you is I wonder whether or not kind of wanting more and wanting to explore a little bit more is sort of a result of the privileges we now have of understanding world building, which was not quite a thing back then. Because now we start to think of like, well, if No Escape was a Netflix series, we'd be able to flesh out all of these things and really understand the world we live in and get into the nitty gritty of it. And it's like, yeah, but that's something that we've become inured to now because of like Marvel Cinematic Universe is giving us all these spinoffs that all kind of flesh out the same universe. Following that mold, all these like Casino Royale is in 2006, right? And then Iron Man comes out in 2008, and then introduces this whole like multiverse transmedia franchise making, which is now the gold standard for making billions of dollars. And so by the time you get to, is it Spectre with Daniel Craig? By the time you get to Spectre, you've got the Christoph Waltz character coming out and saying like, "Oh yeah, the events of Casino Royale, I
I did
orchestrated
it.
that." It's like, no, you didn't. That's so stupid, right? That's such a post MCU
And
thing
then
that they did.
Fast and Furious did that too.
Yeah, that's very post MCU, right? Let's find a way to make all of these independent films, these sort of unique projects. Let's string them all together and make them shared universe. That's because the MCU kind of changed the market demand for like linked shared universe franchises. And so I just like, yeah, just come back to the main point. I wonder whether we've just sort of become so acclimated to that kind of thinking that when we see a movie like No Escape, which does do like a modicum of world building, we start to think like, oh well, if we went further, the world could expand even more to encompass this, and then if I was doing a shared universe film, I'd have it set in a women's prison, which is like 3 miles to the south. There's another island, and like let's just build the world. Let's do an entire mini series about the origin of the prison in the beginning, and the warden is the main character. It's like that's the kind of thinking we do now. I don't know if people were really just sort of intuitively thinking about those kind of things in '94.
Yeah,
I
no one
guess is the
wanted a
point I'm
prequel.
making.
No one wanted a prequel
Well, no one
to
would
No
think no one would
Escape.
think that that's a direction, right? You do have
Oh,
prequels, and
that's
that is a
true.
thing,
Yeah,
but just people wouldn't. That's just not something that would have leapt to mind the way as
it does
readily and
now.
as easily as it does now. I think it's not to say no one would have thought of it, but I don't think people, when they encounter a plot hole or something that feels a little bit like unfollowed up, they would have gone like, well, in the expanded universe, right? Or it's like, I think the best you could be like, well, in the Escape from Absalom graphic novel, you you get those questions
Which
answered.
is
So
canon.
it's technically canon, yeah. But I
And
don't know. I
also,
think it's maybe asking too much of a movie like No Escape.
I don't think I eloquently explained it earlier, but yeah, this is a movie called No Escape. It's a very high concept film where dude gets sent to a prison island and he wants to escape. I think for what it is, it does a totally fine job. I think it's exactly what it needs to be. And so even though there are other it's like I guess I never expected much from it. So by the fact that everyone's having fun, there's so many good character actors. I mean, it kind of knows what it is. But yeah, I think at the end of the day, you got to know that you got to put this film in context. And it's like this is, Martin Campbell hadn't directed much at this time. Ray Liotta's making the leap to leading man, and this is like a non-Scorsese picture. And this is just what it is. I guess I hate saying it is what it is, but this is No Escape. And so yeah, there's going to be some plot holes. Maybe you don't need Kevin Dillon. Maybe there's some of this, but at the end of the day, it's a well constructed dad movie, and I think that's why it. Do you know what I mean? I hope I'm not talking in circles here.
No, listen, I could be misremembering, maybe like one, maximum two other times I've kind of encountered the film, maybe on television and watched parts of it or something. But to my recollection, I saw this movie when it came out, so 94, maybe 95, caught it on like a VHS rental. I'm pretty sure I haven't seen it since. So I wasn't quite sure what risk I was taking in doing this one with you, because I rewatched it after 30 years, right?
And
I had a really good time. And in fact, I almost feel like patting my younger self on the back to like, hey man, you had good taste.
it,
Because I didn't remember much from the film, but I remembered liking it. So I was like, okay, well, am I gonna trust my teenage self basically? And just think of this as a good movie, or do I really need to give this another look with fresh set of eyes? And which is exactly what I did, and I had a really good time. Like you said, like tons of quibbles with it, but in terms of, again, does this succeed at setting out at doing what it's setting out to do? Minor issues aside, absolutely, I think it does. So I think it holds up exactly in its parameters as a B movie. I did not, I mean, I have to confess, I had a good time and I love talking with you about it, but I did not have that experience with Demolition Man. That movie is dated in a lot of ways that
yeah.
this movie is not, precisely because of the kind of constraints that come with having a budget like that and having star power like that. It just lends itself to more scrutiny than something like No Escape, which is like an under the radar movie from the beginning.
I mean, and if you watch Goldeneye, if you watch Vertical Limit, if you watch Mask of Zorro, those aren't totally dated either. Because yes, you can tell when they were made, but he doesn't rely a lot on VFX. Campbell doesn't. Storyboards a lot, good performances. There's not much there to date the movies. I did a commentary for the Mask of Zorro on Out Now with Aaron and Abe. That movie's great. I love that movie.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah.
So I
It,
think,
it I haven't seen it since it came out, but yeah, I bet. Also, just because he does practical effects,
yeah,
right? And the Green Lantern thing is a perfect example. It's like, yeah, this is someone who just doesn't have an eye that, no, well, no, I don't want to presume anything, but it does feel like someone who's just more comfortable in his own skin directing things that he can see and envision and not just pass off to post later, right? I mean that movie has other problems, obviously, but when you
Wolf.
think of his best work, it's just Zorro, just the practical sword fighting. That's the stuff that keeps it alive, because CGI is the easiest way to date your stuff. And even the best CGI, you think like Jurassic Park, it's the combination of CGI and practical that helps it kind of move seamlessly. And so that's why I think Vertical Limit has tons of like plates and compositions
Yeah.
and blue screen work and stuff like that. They're not shooting up in the mountains, obviously, right? But all the foreground stuff is like on a practical set, and then the background is CGI or at least a plate. It's rotoed in. Like it looks great. I have not seen Vertical Limit since in theaters. I'll bet it holds up.
Yeah,
I
we
mean,
co-
it's basically Wages of Fear, so it is
with the
a remake of
glycerin,
sorts,
yeah,
but
going up in the
yeah.
mountain yeah. I covered on MFF and it holds up. I mean, Bill Paxton, great cast. It does a great job, and I don't know. I like that about Martin Campbell. There's a certain timelessness to his movies. I've watched his latest stuff, like Cleaner is not it. I don't know. I
Which
just
one is Cleaner?
that's
Is
the one with
that?
Daisy Ridley where she's a window
Oh,
cleaner.
that's right on the skyscraper.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
that one. It's not it. It really isn't. But I don't know. I think whoever he talked about Vertical Limit, they're like, I love that movie. He talked to people about No Escape, like I love that movie. So I think he definitely hits it. And also, last thing, because I know we've been
You're
we
right. He does high rise fight scenes, huh?
yeah, he
You're
does.
totally right. Yeah. He
But
loves a tower.
he I know we're going a long time, but also I think No Escape, it doesn't have a younger star. It doesn't have, like True Lies, you have, Speed, you had Sandra Bullock and Keanu Reeves. True Lies, you had the Jamie Lee Curtis of it all. Like even Mad Max had more like women in characters. So this one's kind of all guys, a little bit older, no A-listers. But yeah, it's a interesting, like from a marketing standpoint, to kind of greenlight this. It makes sense, but it's kind of interesting that they gave it a somewhat good budget and Gillian Hurd got it made and you had a good cast, because yeah, this isn't, I don't know if this would exactly appeal to the teenage crowd, would it? Like, even though you and I liked it, it's not like a time cop, right? It's not a one of those like a Universal Soldier like this with younger stars. This is like a mature B movie, if that
Yeah,
makes sense.
yeah, I mean it's definitely more dad than teenage boy. Also, the fact that they just embraced the R rating. Right, because you're right. Stuart Wilson does not have to like get impaled at the end. That is like just one step extra, but it also kicks it up into the R rating, which of course, I mean, even today, but especially at that time, it's like, okay, well, by giving this an R rating and not objecting to the then MPAA's R rating and revisiting it to carve it down to a PG-13, we are essentially abdicating any expectation that teenage boys are going to be flooding the theaters for this one, right? Also, teenage boys are not going out to see Ray Liotta in an action movie, even in
Not-
'94, right? No one's going like, Dad, he's in Operation Dumbo Drop. We have to see this one, right? I don't think that's really in the calculus. So, yeah, what was the budget? Do you happen to know?
I think it
You
was
said it made 15, but
No Escape budget 19. I want to say 20. It was 20. Good. I was going to say 20, and it's 20 million.
okay.
That's
So
not a
it
lot.
didn't even, yeah, it didn't break even, huh?
I will
Well,
say
20,
though,
yeah.
like No Escape 1994 video sales, I guarantee you this did well on video. Like a lot of people picked this one up. I have to think.
I feel like this one is on the cusp of a cult following. I don't think it really has a genuine one, but has everything it needed to do it if the winds had changed a little bit.
I own the VHS, so I'm assuming this played well. I think it had to have made its money back. But you're right, it has aged very well. Aside from the train in the beginning. All that stuff hasn't aged well, but the stuff on the island looks great.
Yeah.
Any final thoughts about this movie?
No, I don't think so.
We did it.
I neglected to mention the one misstep I think they have, which is when Ray Liotta is captured by Merrick, his second go around, and he's about to be executed via guillotine. That and then they reveal the inside mole, right, who saves him. And it's like that's a problem because you've already taken such pains to establish the fact that Merrick is a psychopath who likes to kill people by himself, but in particular likes to behead people. He's doing it left and right. And then the one moment they're going to implement that penalty on Ray Liotta and behead him, Merrick is like, hey, this is my thing. I'm ordering this. I have a personal grudge against you because you humiliated me earlier. And I also really enjoy cutting off heads. But for this one, I'm going to outsource this to a guillotine machine that we already have. And I'm just going to peace out. Hey, see you later. That strikes me as completely wrong. So, like I said, minor quibble, but
He doesn't belly flop, he does a back flop, but he really does get humiliated.
yeah.
He just gets chucked in the wall. Oh, his little nose. Those nose rings will get infected. Yeah, but no, you're right. But that's like a great way
Yeah.
to get him out. And I do like the guy. I like the spy. I don't know. They found this interesting looking guy to be the spy
Mm-hmm.
for them. So I thought that was kind of cool. I also liked his right hand, Merrick's right hand guy with like the red hair and the facial scars. Like I don't know, he had a good look for the movie.
Yeah. The Mad Max side of it like looks pretty good. It's a slightly different aesthetic. And then of course on the Lance Henriksen side, you've got some pretty good production design too, right? Because they
Oh yeah, they built
the
that
whole
fort.
community, yeah, they built it, but it all feels very makeshift. Like they
Yeah,
have telescopes, for instance, but the telescopes have to look like something they plausibly cobbled together from
yeah.
like spare parts and things like that. And so the kind of engineering ingenuity that goes into the peaceful camp side of it is also kind of got great production design work and like prop makers and all the rest of it. So it's like when you say 20 million, I'd have to think a little harder to like, well, what would that be in today's terms? Is that closer to 30 or 40? But obviously this is back when Hollywood was making like middle range stuff like this. But yeah, you can tell they're stretching their dollars, but making really good choices and getting talented people. So like the world of it is never unconvincing. Like you say, with the exception of some janky CGI in the beginning with the more futuristic stuff. But once you go into the more primitive stuff, I think it works great.
It's a classy B picture. Would you call it a classy
Yeah.
B movie?
I would say it's not an elegant B picture, but it's an effective one.
There we go. What's an elegant
Yeah.
B movie?
Elegant B movie would be
Tremors?
is
No.
Tremors elegant?
I, the
Tremors
script
is
is
such
tight. The
trash.
script is
Yeah.
so tight though. Like everything comes back. It's really set up well, but I guess that's not elegant. Well, we'll have to do
Hmm.
next when we get
I have
back
to
next
think
time.
about
When
it.
we're talking about
Yeah.
Hard Target, I'll ask you about elegant B movies.
All right. Give me some homework. Yeah, hard target. We'll keep this Lance Henriksen train going.
Hey, Why's your name Chance?
Oh, my mama took one. Oh, I panicked for a second, but I got it.
Hey, thank you for joining me, Professor Mike Dillon. This was
Yeah,
awesome.
man. See you next time.
All right, so for me, Mark Hoffmeyer, and for Professor Mike Dillon, this is Movie Films and Flicks. We'll see you next week.